Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And they've done it. They have nerfed it. One of the most powerful items to come into PvP in some time. Maybe the last time something this powerful was the corruptions of Battle for Azeroth. And I think a lot of us were wondering, are we going to see nerfs to this? Are we going to see any changes to this in the game? Or is it just going to kind of be left there for a while? It was looking a bit worrisome, but it looks like it has been finally nerfed. This was something that had feedback, iterate on it, even from things like the community council. When I checked it on the forums there, I wanted to see what was everybody thinking about this particular item. And on this recent round of changes, which saw a lot of tuning adjustments to raid encounters and Mythic Plus encounters, we can see in the item and reward sections that the Cosmic Gladiator's Resonator Trinket has had its damage reduced by 18%, and most importantly, can no longer critically strike. I would say the critically strike effect of it was the excessive point. I'd been hit by a 57,000 resonator. I think some other players I'd played with have said they've been hit by 60,000 plus resonators. So having its damage nerfed by 18% plus this means that it's likely to never hit that critically high threshold. The hostile resonators are now also going to have a visual to indicate their radius more clearly. I've noticed this. It was a big improvement to have this to be able to avoid the mechanic, especially given with how many different spell effects there are just always going on in the game. It's a lot more clear of a marker for the circle to get out of it now. And characters within a hostile resonator will also have an indicator debuff if you haven't happened to notice the circle, but the circle is definitely the most important. This could have some big implications. Potentially we see change because there's other trinkets, right? You'll see that in my other video that I have linked at the end here. And if you want to stay up to date with any of these patch changes and news updates, make sure you hit the subscribe button because I do update them here in real time so you can stay ahead of the competition and kind of get those ratings that you really want to go for and hopefully provide you with some good information along with it. But some implications of this could be similar to what we've seen in the past. And when I talked about at the start of the video, the Battle for Azeroth corruptions, when we saw nerfs to things like Gushing Wounds, the Infinite Stars, which of course were ridiculously high amounts of damage, what ended up happening is it went to the polar opposite, where it went to all of the defensive options like the versatility stacking, which really slowed down the game. And that is something that I'm always worried about whenever we see new additions to the game like this that include offense and defense, is that offense is obviously the most noticeable one because you're immediately deleted from the game. But another option, which is defense, is maybe not as noticeable, which is just infinitely prolonging a match. And I think they're both equally damaging, but offense is usually the one that always gets highlighted, and defense can somewhat be forgotten. And there's options to take tank trinkets effectively from this PvP quest as well, which provide you with a very big shield. I think 30,000 to 50,000 absorb effect, which you can activate every 2 minutes. And I'm starting to see some players already pick this one up, and it seems like the good fallback option. You can get this quest from Oribos every week now. So if you pick the resonator, you're like, oh, it got nerfed. Next week, you'll be able to pick up that quest and pick up a different option as well. I'm looking to pick up a few of them to try out with some different builds that I covered in the video. I'll have linked at the end here. But that shield trinket could definitely still be problematic, especially because it can just cycle as a good cooldown in general. Like it's almost as powerful as the Shield of Vengeance from a Ret Paladin. So imagine Ret Paladin having 2 Shields of Vengeances. You're going to be having a pretty tough time taking down that target. So I am very worried that it's going to shift into shield meta. Not that, the resonator wasn't problematic to say, but I'm just worried that we're going to go from one end to the other end, and I'd rather just not be on either end of those, somewhere in between. Of course, I think that's what people have been advocating for with feedback for a while. To have more sustained damage, a little bit less emphasis on cooldown trading, with which these trinkets kind of introduce just more layers of that, rather than tailoring towards the overall sustained damage in a PvP match. That's a big concern for me. Perhaps, though, because we saw changes this rapidly to the resonator itself, that if that does happen, which I've seen it happen a few times, which is why I have that added extra layer of paranoia around it, we'll see changes made as well for that. I'm just hoping that because the defensive options aren't as noticeable, people will still kind of pay attention to it and iterate on feedback for it, similarly to what we saw for the resonator. But this is a good sign. Seeing consistent changes like this, constant updates. The game is always changing. So like I said, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you can stay on top of those changes. If you'd like to follow my journey in the game, twitch.tv/Supatease. I've been really enjoying my time as Balanced Druid, Demonology Warlock, and Fury Warrior. I'm thinking about doing a class challenge, 2400 on every class, because I want to be able to get the transmogs on all of them, but also just say that I'm 2400 on every class this season. Probably going to be a long season. So as I work through that can be a great time for you to hang out. We also do some freestyle rapping. We do viewer games. We do a whole bunch of stuff over there. So make sure that you check it out. But I just wanted to bring this to you, pop in a quick update, because I know that recent video and a lot of people have been, sending out lots of content about that resonator and needing to pick it up. Well, now that resonator has been nerfed, so you may want to consider the other options. And like I said, I think that shield trinket is likely the second most competitive option. We'll have to see where it goes from there, but it is a very powerful one. Other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. I will catch you in the next one.